The day before the big race, I set my beloved car ablaze and announced my withdrawal from the competition. In an instant, my fan club deserted me, and casual supporters turned against me with a vengeance. Wilfred Corrington, who had always seen me as his sole rival, made a disingenuous statement. Without him, it's going to be awfully lonely at the top. No matter what, I hope he returns to the track so we can compete once more. I sneered. In my previous life, I had meticulously modified my race car to be identical to his. No matter how many videos I released showing my hands-on work during the modifications, all it took was for Wilfred to tearfully tell his fans, "Let Garrick have it then. He needs it more than I do. I can win on skill alone." And just like that, I became the shameless villain in their eyes. Later, when I started the car, the parts inside exploded, leaving me in a vegetative state. His fans even blamed me, saying I got what I deserved, until the day my fiancée removed my oxygen tube and I died. I still couldn't understand. Why had everything that was mine, my career, my girlfriend, become Wilfred's? When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day the race schedule was announced. Ding! Story Shots reminds you to click the subscribe button at the bottom right corner to read the full novel. 50th test, and we're still firmly in first place, Crispin Hadley exclaimed, slapping me on the back. I lurched forward. I wasn't an immobile vegetative patient anymore. I had been reborn. "You've earned this." Crispin laughed, thinking I was excited about the car's performance. He told me to get ready for tomorrow's race. "Wait," I suddenly called out to him. "Don't submit the car's data yet. I want to take another look." As I ran towards the garage, I pulled up the data Wilfred Corrington had released earlier. Every detail was vastly different from my current car, which was why I hadn't noticed in my previous life. But as I reached my race car, the web page suddenly refreshed. "Garrick, what's going on?" Wilfred Corrington's updated data is identical to ours. Crispin chased after me, his face ashen, ready to call someone to file a complaint against Wilfred. I looked grim but held Crispin back. "Data submission deadline is midnight. We've got time." In my past life, Wilfred had seemingly accidentally posted 2 identical sets of data online, inciting his fans to cyberbully me. All because of that 1 minute. I rushed to publish evidence of my own modifications, but his fans sneered. "Technology's so advanced now, even videos can be faked. Everyone knows top racers compete on their modification skills. Why don't you just steal Wilfred himself to drive for you? Wilfred's staking his entire career on this race, and you're using your influence to bully him. Have you no shame?" My team even suffered for it, getting pelted with rotten eggs when they went out, too scared to return home. I could only rely on my skills to convince them. But when I started the car, it exploded right there. Wilfred was the only one on the track unaffected, easily winning the championship and all the glory. Even after countless inspections by professional researchers, no cause for the explosion in my car could be found. So Wilfred's fans said I must have done something terrible to deserve divine punishment, that I deserved to die. So even as a vegetative patient lying in a hospital bed, I endured inhuman torment daily. I couldn't even cry for help, only praying for some kind soul to end my misery, until my parents, driven to depression by cyberbullying, committed suicide by jumping off a building. My fiancée, Rowena Clayworth, hanging on Wilfred's arm, pretended to be a fan and removed my oxygen tube, then announced to the world that I, a vegetative patient, had committed suicide out of guilt. I died wrongfully accused, my eyes unable to close. Now that heaven has given me a chance to start over, I will make sure those truly guilty pay the price. This race might not happen again for decades. You've been waiting for this chance your whole life. How can you give up because of this? Don't worry about Wilfred Corrington. Check the car thoroughly. We're getting on that track no matter what. Crispin Hadley snatched my phone and locked me in the basement with the car. I gritted my teeth and inspected every inch of the vehicle inside and out. Even if someone had deliberately leaked information, a difference of mere fractions in the parts would show up as massive disparities in the data. With all the parts on my car still intact, How could Wilfred Corrington possibly find components identical to mine? And even if he did manage to find them, why would my car be the only one to explode under the same conditions? I racked my brain, trying to recall the events of that day. Wilfred was good at marketing, so he was always surrounded by a crowd of fans. He never had a chance to get near my car. And the woman he had his arm around at the time was none other than my girlfriend, Rowena Clayworth. My heart clenched as if gripped by an invisible hand. After 8 years together, I believed we would exchange rings. Instead, she was on the arm of the man who sabotaged me, cutting off my lifeline. I couldn't dwell on it now. I jumped up, shaking off my chaotic thoughts. I began dismantling every single part of the car. I had spent 3 full years preparing for this race. I had grown attached to these cold, mechanical parts. They weren't something I could easily discard. But then I thought about my previous life, destitute and helpless, watching my parents jump from the hospital window while I couldn't even claim their bodies. My hands only moved faster. After removing everything, I found another pile of dusty parts in the warehouse. This was the original design for my race car. It was already perfect by any standard. But my passion for racing made me dream of ways to make it flawless, leading to the current version with virtually no weaknesses. Even though Wilfred stole my equipment, my skills are what they are. He couldn't beat me even if he was in a rocket. In just minutes, I had it fully assembled. I made a few tweaks, significantly boosting the overall performance. It was like a cheetah, ready to pounce at any moment. Elated, I sent the new data to Crispin. The incident happened so suddenly, and I was the only one in the garage the whole time. Even if Wilfred hired a master thief, they couldn't have copied this. I had just breathed a sigh of relief when a pale-faced Crispin appeared before me again. I immediately had a bad feeling. Then Crispin said, Wilfred posted his initial concept online. The data, it's identical to our modified version. Impossible! I lunged forward and grabbed the phone. On the screen, Wilfred said regretfully, Actually, when I first reached this stage, I thought it was good enough. It was already perfect. But someone stole the most crucial part. I had no choice but to create this even more perfect version. Refreshing the official website, Wilfred's race car data had indeed changed to the new version. The praise from his fans in the comments grew more and more exaggerated, while my face turned increasingly pale. How could this be possible? A large portion of this version's parts were ones I found when I went back to my hometown. Those things haven't been on the market for ages. Even I had to spend months grinding and lubricating them before finally succeeding with a few, choosing the one with the best performance. And during its idle time, rain had coincidentally worn down its edges, making it fit perfectly with the machinery. The odds of achieving this combination of conditions were astronomical. And the one Wilfred had, it just happened to be my most complete, most perfect one with shockingly identical data. I opened the bonnet and carefully removed that part. The tiny piece radiated warmth in my palm. Could this be it? The source of the explosion. The days and nights I spent polishing it in my previous life, along with the curses in the empty hospital room at the end, all echoed in my mind. I clutched it and walked silently to the furnace. Under the regretful gaze of the workers, I forcefully threw the part in. Listening to it melt, I dove back into the garage without hesitation. In this life, I will only choose the path that benefits me most. Crispin's eyes were already brimming with tears as he watched me finish all this. After all, the only 2 sets of equipment I could use now had been destroyed by my own hands. Garrick, what do we do now? Crispin asked, taking back his mobile. Sure enough, fans had already stormed into my comments section, frantically throwing harsh words to defend Wilfred. Weren't you so cocky before? Wilfred has made everything public. Are you not doing it because you think your skills can't match up? Then just quit the race already. In previous races, this Garrick Sheffield style was very similar to Wilfred's. Could it be that he's been copying all along? Now that he's found out the data needs to be made public, he's panicking. The fans quickly determined my crimes. But I was staring at a message from my girlfriend, who hadn't spoken to me in days, lost in thought. Stop fiddling with those mechanical parts and come out with me tonight. I had never told her what I was doing now, and she knew I needed to focus before a race. She had never chatted with me at a time like this, but this time, she had impatiently sent me a string of messages, trying to force me out of the garage with different excuses. She even sent a voice message with a tearful tone. "Garrick, give up? You'll die if you keep going like this." I just closed my phone and said to Crispin with a light chuckle, "It's all right. There's still time. I'll make another set." Taking a deep breath, I put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I sat back down at the workbench, drawing from scratch and installing based on the parts one found. This could even be said to be the simplest set I've ever made, taking only 2 hours to complete. While organizing the data to send to Crispin for checking, I lit a cigarette to gather my thoughts. On the surface, this set could at most be considered mid-range, something rich kids would use to get started. But I changed the most crucial part. This car looks entry-level on the surface, but because of my modifications, as soon as it gets on a professional track, it can instantly boost its performance to the highest level. This method was something I painstakingly came up with during the 10 years I was humiliated in a hospital bed. Dangerous enough, but the end product is absolutely gorgeous. Wilfred wouldn't have my experience, let alone be able to see through the intricacies. Who would have thought that the next second, I would come across a gift posted by Wilfred's team? Recently we heard that some fans who like Wilfred also want to get into racing. Wilfred specially made this beginner-friendly model before the race. Those interested can go for it. My hands were already shaking when I saw this line. I didn't even dare to open the message Crispin sent. How could there be such a coincidence? I had just finished making it. Wilfred, who was still out having fun this afternoon, immediately made a set too, with even the functions and strengths/weaknesses exactly the same as what I had in mind. Clenching my fists tightly, I clicked to see the specific data. The same. Everything was the same, but I still had a glimmer of hope in my heart. As long as Wilfred hadn't discovered the most crucial part and continued to use my previous version of the car in the race, I could completely clear myself of suspicion. With this thought, I unhesitatingly clicked on the official website. The data flashed before my eyes for a second, and the next moment, it actually showed it was under maintenance. Bang! Crispin slammed his fist against the wall, furious. Damn that Wilfred! He must be trying to pull some tricks again. Once uploaded, it can't be changed. How can Wilfred get the organizers to bend the rules for him over and over without anyone saying anything? I'm going to find someone to deal with him right now. I raised my head grimly from the scattered parts on the ground. No, I need to go talk to the organizers myself. It's now 24 minutes past 10. To continue the race, I need to sort everything out and complete the registration within the next hour and a half. Contacting the organizers, waiting for the website to be fixed, producing evidence of Wilfred Corrington stealing my data, and seeking justice. All of these require time, but the race won't wait for me that long. Taking a deep breath, I sit in the driver's seat and start the engine. Time is of the essence. At this point, I can only gamble on one possibility. That is, Wilfred Corrington couldn't have completely stolen my final product. If I win, I'll be able to prove my true abilities with this car alone. But before that, I must rule out the last possibility, the sudden explosion of the car body as it entered the track in my previous life. Gritting my teeth, I floor the accelerator. The car shoots forward like an arrow released from a bow, and my heart leaps into my throat. Something's not right. Having lived and breathed with this car, I instantly noticed the discrepancy. Though it's only by a few millimeters, the entire body of the car is veering to the left, more precisely, towards the driver's side. This is a cardinal sin in racing, and in a spot I can't see, sparks are flying between the left front wheel and the ground. I curse under my breath. Despite my overwhelming reluctance, I manage to fling open the door at the last second and leap out of the car. Just as I leave the driver's seat, a deafening explosion erupts behind me. The blast hurls me several meters away. After rolling a few times, I finally crash to the ground. Ignoring my injuries, I quickly lift my head to look in the direction of my beloved car. Raging flames, gusting winds. My car. It's exploded. Took me a while to come to my senses after this unexpected incident. The left side of my body was a bloody mess from scraping against the ground, mingling with the cold sweat on my back. The pain was piercing deep into my flesh. But strangely enough, the car that had just been through an explosion was now standing intact in its original spot. Only the half-open door reminded me that everything that had just happened was real, that I had just jumped out of it, my fists clenched and unclenched. My girlfriend's words, "You'll die," kept echoing in my mind. Was it about saving my life or taking a chance for my dreams? My choice would always be the latter. With this thought, I called Crispin over without hesitation to help me with some basic first aid. Then, ignoring his protests, I limped my way to the hotel. 10:50. The organizer's room was brightly lit, with occasional excited shouts from a card game. I listened for a moment and confirmed that Wilfred was inside too. Could it be that the organizer had leaked the data to him? But only the first time had my car been inspected by the organizer. What about the other 2 times? It was useless to think about these things now. I made a quick decision and knocked on the door. But even after 7 or 8 attempts, there was still no response. They weren't answering phone calls either, so I threw caution to the wind and commented under Wilfred's post. "Wilfred Corrington, you've changed your data 3 times. Which big shot is protecting you? Why don't you just ask the organizer for the trophy directly?" This caused an uproar online. Even though they were deleting comments quickly, they couldn't stop screenshots from spreading everywhere. But not only was my question ignored, it was also turned into various memes and widely circulated. "Oh, realizing you're not good enough and getting desperate? Mr. Triggered. I'm dying of laughter. Never seen someone so eager to be a clown. You think my Wilfred will even bother with you?" I ignored all of this because the door in front of me opened. The organizer came out holding a laptop, smiling kindly. Wilfred Corrington only submitted his data once, on the first day of the competition. As for you, you haven't given any results for so long. Have you run out of ideas? It's okay. Go back and practice more. There will be other opportunities in the future. Wilfred posted every word of this conversation online. Looking at the scrolling comments, I knew I had no way out this time. Fortunately, I had records of the data changes from each time. I immediately pulled out those 2 photos and held them in front of the organizer. To my surprise, he barely glanced at them before laughing. "Just 3 photos of websites under maintenance. And that's your evidence to slander Wilfred Corrington?" Wilfred, with a confident and assured smile on his face, had started a live stream at some point, pointing the camera at me and saying, "Garrick, mate, are you under too much pressure? But clinging to this accusation against me won't make you feel any better, will it?" I looked at the screen in disbelief. There was really only one line saying, "Website under maintenance." I felt a chill down my spine. I quickly entered his live stream, hoping that some quick-fingered fans might have posted screenshots from earlier. But there were only insults. Gone mad with the desire to win? I think this plagiarist is just panicking because he can't steal the data, so he's lashing out everywhere. Is this bloke still living in the Stone Age? I can't believe I used to be a fan of his skills for a while. Now it seems it was all just hype. I want a refund. What's with all the blood on him? Don't tell me he's only just started trying to practice now. My hands were shaking so much I could barely hold my phone. But in their eyes, this just looked like guilt, and a barrage of creative insults came crashing down on me. The more you try to hide, the more suspicious you look. So I didn't back down. I stared straight at the organizer, demanding an explanation. What can Wilfred give you that makes you willing to crash your website just to protect him? Everyone wants to see a fair competition. At this moment, Wilfred smiled understandingly. Since Garrick insists on thinking this way, why don't we wait for the website to be fixed and let everyone see what the truth really is? I couldn't figure out what he was up to, so I ignored him and kept my eyes fixed on the organizer. It's done. The technician suddenly walked over with a laptop, turning the screen towards me. The data Wilfred had submitted was exactly the same as my latest version. At that moment, my blood ran cold. Look for yourself. He's changed it for the third time now. To my surprise, the organizer looked at me with bewilderment. Garrick, don't you understand the rules? Before the deadline, each participant can only submit data for one car they intend to race. He deliberately emphasized the words "one car," mocking my ignorance of the regulations. The comments section quickly picked up on his signal, with insults directed at me coming one after another. I could see Wilfred Corrington struggling to suppress a smirk at the corner of his mouth. Seeing that I was at a loss for words, the organizer let out a cold snort and gestured for Wilfred to end the live stream. I pursed my lips, still unable to comprehend why this was happening. The organizer, as if reading my thoughts, added sarcastically, "You've read the contract, haven't you? For a racer of your caliber to withdraw midway, there's a hefty penalty to pay." I gave him one last cold look without responding and turned to leave. Those who can afford to race cars aren't ordinary people to begin with. The organizers had simply chosen to back Wilfred Corrington, and I didn't need a trophy from a tainted race anyway. I let out a soft laugh, tossed my cigarette, and answered the incoming call from Crispin Hadley. Before he could offer any consolation, I spoke first. "I'm withdrawing from the race this time, and I'll be getting a new car while I'm at it." No sooner had I said this than someone burst through the door and threw their arms around me, even before Crispin could react on the other end of the line. "Garrick, no, you can't withdraw." "Rowena?" Amidst my astonishment, all I felt was an endless coldness. "What are you doing here?" Rowena Clayworth forced a smile, looking at me pleadingly. "Garrick, we're about to be married. Can't I come to see you?" In that instant, I realized she had also been reborn. But what did that have to do with me? As her boyfriend, I had bought her everything she wanted, spoiling her like a precious princess. As her fiancé, I had postponed our wedding by 2 years because of a single worry she expressed. I believed I had never wronged her in any way. But what about her? I raised my hand to push Rowena away, not wanting to engage with her any further. But she clung to me again, like a leech. "Garrick, you can't destroy this car." Looking at her tear-stained, pitiful face, I could no longer contain my anger. I raised my hand and slapped her hard across the face. Rowena had never been treated like this by me before. She held her cheek with one hand, her eyes full of disbelief. I let out a cold laugh and continued walking towards the garage. But Rowena chased after me again. "What do you want?" The frustration that had been building up all day finally exploded. I glared angrily at Rowena, who shrank back in fear, but her tone remained firm. "You must race." I was almost amused by her stubborn behavior. "You were the one who told me not to get involved with Wilfred before, and now you're the one insisting I must race. What exactly do you know? Is it fun playing these games with Wilfred at my expense?" With that, I gave her no further opportunity to speak and quickly shut the garage door. Bang! Bang! Rowena pounded frantically on the door outside, but still wouldn't tell me the truth. And in the darkness, I took out my lighter. I hesitated for a moment before throwing it towards the car. Many memories flashed through my mind. The sweet moments with Rowena Clayworth and the exhilarating scenes of racing on the track. But all of that had vanished into thin air with Wilfred Corrington's appearance. Amidst the continuous threatening voices around me, I tossed the lighter towards the car. In an instant, flames several meters high engulfed the vehicle. I stood at a safe distance, silently watching as the fire consumed the car body. 11 o'clock. It's hard to deny that a glimmer of hope still lingered in my heart. I hoped to discover a secret weapon from the fiery ruins that would lead me to a glorious victory on the racetrack. But there was nothing. The flames burned steadily for 20 minutes, showing no signs of diminishing. Instead, they seemed frozen in place like a still photograph. I sensed something was amiss. The 2 explosions from the race car still echoed in my head. I sat in the car, slowly pressing the accelerator to the floor, and then the car body shifted. Suddenly, it was as if I'd been struck by lightning. I dashed through the floating sparks towards the nearby fire hydrant. The gushing water controlled the fire within seconds. And the next moment, what appeared before me was an undamaged car. This was beyond any scientific explanation. I hastily dialed Crispin Hadley's number. "Crispin, go check Wilfred's car. Quickly." Crispin was still emotional from my previous call, but upon receiving my order, he swiftly switched to work mode. Within 2 minutes, he reported back. "Nothing's wrong, but it's looking more and more like yours. Even the body." I gritted my teeth. "What about the body? Touch it. It's scorching." Crispin had barely extended his hand when he let out a howl of pain, dropping his phone far away. My heart sank deeper. It really was like that. My car couldn't be destroyed no matter what. "Thanks," I said, hanging up the phone and lighting my third cigarette of the night. Such a fantastic car right in front of me, and not only could I not race it, but I had to watch someone else win with it. How ironic. I pondered bitterly for a moment. Then I picked up the nearby water hose again to cool down the car body. Once it reached a temperature that human skin could tolerate, I lifted the bonnet. What I did next was simple. I removed 2 parts from the car. They were so common you could find a heap of them in any hardware store. Yet they were indispensable components of a race car. I weighed them in my palm, smirked, and closed the bonnet. Then I opened that website again. The time was exactly midnight. The website that was supposed to reveal more details about the race once again got stuck on an under-maintenance page. It was fixed shortly after, but Wilfred Corrington's racing data column was filled with gibberish. After refreshing, the entire site went back to maintenance. I watched this scene with amusement. It was to be expected. My car was missing the most crucial part, making even normal driving impossible, let alone collecting data. Many fans following the event and the dispute between Wilfred and me quickly noticed this oddity. "What's going on?" I took a screenshot. "Only Wilfred's data is problematic. What's the organizer playing at? Our Wilfred is the rising star most likely to win the championship. He's the genius standing at the pinnacle of the racing world. How dare you pull such an obvious stunt? Aren't you afraid of being exposed?" These accusations made me struggle to hold back my laughter. The organizer didn't even bother with me. How could they possibly care about these self-important fans? Sure enough, these comments vanished into thin air as soon as they were posted. Not only was there no response, but even the comments themselves were completely deleted. Seeing that they couldn't get any useful information from the organizer, the fans turned their attention to Wilfred Corrington's comment section. "Wilfred, what's really going on? Where's your team? Sort this out quickly. This race is so prestigious. We can't let some scoundrels take advantage and steal what's rightfully yours." I watched leisurely as Wilfred's avatar lit up and dimmed, yet he didn't dare to reply to a single message. It was quite satisfying to watch someone else's composure crumble. I chuckled softly. "Wilfred, seeing you so busy, should I add some fuel to the fire?" Without caring about what Wilfred might be thinking, I lazily opened my live stream. Most of the online viewers who couldn't get results from Wilfred Corrington flooded into my live stream. But as soon as they entered, all they saw was the black race car in the center of the screen. "Garrick, did you start a live stream just to show us your race car? Where's Wilfred? Do you think your backing is invincible, allowing you to blatantly exclude Wilfred like this?" I watched the comments scroll by without rushing to speak. Instead, I picked up a cloth and started polishing my car. "Stop polishing. Check the comments, mate." Seeing that I had no intention of acknowledging them, the group hurling insults became discouraged and stopped. Meanwhile, Wilfred's die-hard fans, desperate to know their idol's true situation, actually started sending me virtual gifts. Hearing the notification sounds, I finally walked back in front of the screen. Still ignoring the incoming comments, I casually played with my phone while saying nonchalantly, "I've already decided to withdraw from the race, so the entire schedule is no longer my concern. You don't need to ask me about it." Seeing those people getting agitated and about to start cursing again, I continued indifferently, "But I won't end my live stream. I've removed two crucial parts from this car, and they're in my possession. Please help me keep an eye on the car and make sure no thieves come in to damage it. The hidden meaning in my words was too obvious. The comment section paused for a second before people started guessing who I was referring to. Even with all evidence pointing to Wilfred Corrington, many fans were still in denial. I had already closed my eyes and fallen asleep. I needed to rest and gather my strength for the tough battle ahead. Sure enough, after the website crashed for a full 2 hours, the door to my garage was violently smashed open. Wilfred Corrington burst in, wielding an axe, his face contorted with rage. His fans, who had never seen their beloved Wilfred in such a fearsome state, were too shocked to even comment. The only sound that woke me was the incessant pinging of virtual gifts being sent. I slowly opened my eyes, fixed my gaze on Wilfred, and smiled. "Wilfred, don't you have a race tomorrow? What are you doing here?" Wilfred's face turned an ugly shade of purple, but he couldn't find the words to rebut me. Instead, he turned his attention to my car. "It's a bloody good car, wasted on someone like you. This had the worst luck ending up in your hands. Put the parts back on it right now." Seeing Wilfred's self-righteous demeanor, I didn't even need to pretend. I pointed at him and laughed out loud. "You said it yourself. It's my car. Whether I burn it, smash it, or destroy it, it's none of your business. Besides, what makes you think the car in my garage is missing parts? Are you psychic?" In an instant, the online viewers who heard my words were ready to attack me again, following Wilfred's lead. But this time, the voices were much quieter, because a large portion of them had begun to realize something wasn't quite right. "Yeah, it's Garrick's car after all. What's it got to do with Wilfred? But race car drivers have a special bond with their cars. Isn't this like insulting the car? How can he race with it now?" Wilfred gritted his teeth. "I watched your live stream. Isn't that enough?" Seeing my nonchalant attitude, he could no longer contain his anger. He grabbed my phone and smashed it to the ground. "How can you still be live streaming at a time like this?" But to his surprise, my phone bounced a few times on the ground before coming to rest, perfectly reflecting Wilfred's flushed face. "Is that Wilfred Corrington?" A large portion of his fans were attracted by his heavily edited photos. Suddenly seeing the real Wilfred in the livestream, half of the viewers immediately left the chat. As his fan base dwindled, Wilfred seemed to deflate, the color draining from his face. "Garrick, I don't want to waste words with you. Just fix the bloody car." At this point, Wilfred couldn't care less about the livestream. He raised the axe, pointing it at me in an attempt to threaten me. I narrowed my eyes. "The parts one removed are the simplest ones. You should have plenty of spares on hand. Why do you insist I fix it personally? Can't you touch my car?" Wilfred was clearly unable to answer my question. In the midst of the standoff, Rowena Clayworth ran in from outside. She spread her arms in front of me, eyeing Wilfred warily. I suddenly found this scene rather amusing. Too lazy to continue this charade with these two, I put my phone back in its original position and lay down on a nearby chair to continue my nap. "Go home. Everything will be over tomorrow." Wilfred Corrington glared at me fiercely before finally leaving. I slept soundly through the night. When I opened my eyes, I picked up my phone, which had been charging all night and was now hot to the touch, and headed to the racetrack. Even though I was an hour late, the race hadn't started yet. There was a palpable tension in the air. Upon seeing me, the announcer finally waved excitedly, but his first words were accusatory. "Why did you destroy your own car? Are you bloody annoying or what?" My cold voice echoed across the entire track. The faces of those present were far from pleased, but they didn't dare do anything. Wilfred Corrington, refreshed after a night's rest, plastered on a smile again. He stared at me intently. "Garrick, mate, without you, I've realized that being at the top isn't all it's cracked up to be. A person needs a rival in life, and no matter what, I hope you'll take your place back here." Before anyone else could react, I let out a cold laugh. "Cut the rubbish," I said. "Wilfred, where's your car?" Wilfred's face twisted for a moment before quickly returning to normal. I told you, without you, this championship means nothing. It's not worth racing. I hereby announce that I, Wilfred Corrington, am also withdrawing from the race. Hearing this, I smirked coldly. Then I pulled out the race regulations. Doesn't look like that's possible, mate. There's a clause here that says once you've entered, you can't withdraw. The organizers have the final say on interpretation. If I wasn't mistaken, this rule was originally set up for me, just to get me on the track, to blow up all of Wilfred's competitors, who knew I wouldn't play by their rules, and had already bowed out before the race even began. The most they could do was pester me for some money. As for me, I'm not a fool. The moment Wilfred saw the paper, his face fell. My car is gone. I can't race now. This is a special circumstance. It should be treated as such. As soon as he finished speaking, Crispin Hadley's voice came from behind him. How can we let my mate be without a car? Old Crispin's brought one for you right here. A black car was lifted onto the racetrack. But the scene was in an uproar. They had been forced to examine my car all night, and now they probably knew every speck of dust on it. They recognized it at a glance as my car. But these people are specifically for maintaining Wilfred Corrington's cars. They wouldn't go and take Garrick Sheffield's car, would they? But this is definitely Garrick Sheffield's car. There's a 1 centimeter gold scratch on the right tire. I was just admiring yesterday how rich Garrick is. Some clever fans immediately thought of a solution. Didn't Garrick remove 2 parts yesterday? Just open up the car and look, and we'll know. I smiled at Wilfred Corrington. How does it feel to be at a loss for words? Wilfred Corrington's body began to shake violently. He looked more like he had lost too much blood, his eyes unfocused. Only his lips were moving, muttering something incomprehensible. The host was quick to react, holding the microphone to him. Garrick Sheffield, I'll kill you. A weak groan reached everyone's ears. Wilfred Corrington shuddered, struggling to regain consciousness, refusing to say another word. But reality wouldn't let him off so easily. On the other side, Wilfred Corrington's own men were frantically wiping sweat, and after checking 7 times, they finally nervously approached Wilfred. Mr. Corrington, there really are 2 parts missing. The same ones Garrick removed during yesterday's live stream. Wilfred Corrington couldn't utter a word, just glaring at me hatefully, and I just walked step by step towards him. There was no satisfaction of revenge in my eyes. This was far from over. Garrick Sheffield, when I was just 3 steps away from Wilfred Corrington, he suddenly lunged at me through gritted teeth, grabbing my neck tightly. Why? The system was in my body. No one knew about the entire process of me copying your car. How could you still find out? If you had just obediently stood on the track and blown everyone up the moment the race started, I could have dashed. I effortlessly pried Wilfred Corrington's hands off, kicking him aside. Because you're nothing but a waste. You only know how to copy and paste, hiding behind some supernatural ability that fell from the sky, and you think you can control the world. The bitterness I had endured in 2 lifetimes swirled in my mind. With a cold laugh, I tossed my phone aside and mercilessly kicked Wilfred Corrington. I had no interest in knowing about his miserable past. Racing has been my greatest passion in this life. Back then, to avoid inheriting the family business, I achieved my father's 100 million goal without hesitation and threw myself into the racing industry. But someone like me was forced by Wilfred Corrington, for some unknown reason, to lose everything, to watch my family fall apart, to jump to my death right in front of me. Even all the inheritance I had donated was seized by Wilfred Corrington, who then brazenly married Rowena Clayworth. So what were all those years of mine for? I looked down at Wilfred Corrington. If I'm not mistaken, the strength of your ability is directly proportional to your number of fans, right? How does it feel now? 2 streams of blood trickled from Wilfred Corrington's nostrils. But now no one dared to call me violent. As Crispin Hadley released all the evidence, all the strange powers on the collapsed and unconscious Wilfred Corrington turned into black smoke, wailing as they dissipated into the air. The 3 under-maintenance screenshots I had posted online also reverted to their original form, vindicating me. Even more amazingly, Wilfred Corrington's race car placed in the middle of the track vanished into thin air in broad daylight. All these uncanny events filled everyone with an inexplicable fear. Everything I was doing now seemed to give them courage. So who would stop me? They hoped I would hit harder, be more ruthless, even wishing for Wilfred Corrington to die on the spot. This kind of devious person must have used some sort of dark magic to control our minds. I agree, looking back at my comments from before, they don't even seem like something I would say. It's terrifying. Garrick, I was really wrong, I misjudged you. With these words, apologies to me began flooding the still ongoing livestream. I just glanced at them briefly, not bothering to respond. Instead, I operated my phone to return all the money they had sent me yesterday. I don't need it. This was the truth. The company I casually created years ago now generates enough profit for me to live comfortably for a lifetime. Little did I know that my actions would be widely spread by enthusiastic netizens as a new benchmark for alpha males. I just watched as Rowena Clayworth once again stood in front of me. I turned off the live stream and sighed. What exactly do you want? Hearing my words, Rowena Clayworth's eyes instantly reddened. I know you've been reborn too. In my past life, I was threatened by Wilfred Corrington. I couldn't even control my own actions. He made me remove your oxygen tube. Otherwise he would have us both die a horrible death. Everything I've done in this life was just to save you. It's just that my methods were a bit clumsy. I couldn't be bothered to discern the emotions in her eyes, how much was true and how much was false. I just nodded slightly and continued walking forward, completely indifferent. As we brushed shoulders, Rowena Clayworth's tears fell uncontrollably. Garrick, will you marry me again? I didn't stop walking straight out of the racetrack. That was my answer. Due to an unexpected incident, the race schedule was delayed by 2 months. During this period, I redesigned and upgraded my exceptional racing car. Recalling Wilfred Corrington's previous actions, I smiled and posted all the data from my previous car online without reservation. Those with time and money could naturally follow my tutorial to create top-tier racing cars. I would also occasionally host giveaways, offering racing cars I had personally built. 2 months passed in this manner. The organizers had been pleading with me for a full 2 months, saying, if you don't participate, we'll keep postponing the event until you're willing to join. Not being one to take pleasure in tormenting others, I relented and returned to the racetrack. The result was almost without question. As I drove across the finish line, far ahead of the others, I opened the car door to enjoy the gentle breeze on my face. This was everything I had been striving for. The new female presenter excitedly ran up to me, asking about my thoughts on the race. Amidst a group of young ladies with flushed cheeks, I chuckled softly. It's nothing more than restoring truth to truth and returning the trophy to its rightful champion.